You're 5 feet 6 inches tall, 140 pounds soaking wet, and that's exactly why they picked you. Congratulations! You're the only one small enough to fit into a glass sphere hanging beneath a B-17 bomber at 25,000 feet. Welcome to the ball turret, the most psychologically terrifying position in World War II aviation. They call it a turret. You call it a coffin with a view. It's 1944, somewhere over occupied France, and you're curled into a fetal position inside a Sperry ball turret, a 44-inch diameter plexiglass and aluminum sphere bolted to the underside of your B-17. Your knees are jammed against your chest. Twin .50 caliber machine guns sit between your legs, pointed at the earth 5 miles below. Through the curved plexiglass, you can see everything. The ground, the clouds, German fighters climbing toward you with cannons loaded. And there's absolutely nowhere to hide. The ball turret wasn't designed for comfort. It was designed for killing. Sperry Engineering built it to defend the B-17's vulnerable underside, the blind spot where German fighters loved to attack. Brilliant engineering, terrible for the human being crammed inside. Here's what they didn't mention at recruitment. You'll spend 8 to 10 hours in this glass ball, unable to stretch, unable to stand, breathing recycled oxygen while your spine compresses and your legs go numb. Oh, and if the hydraulics fail, you're trapped, but we'll get to that nightmare. Your journey starts at gunnery school. 6 weeks learning to lead targets at 250 miles per hour closing speeds. You study aircraft recognition until you can identify a Focke-Wulf 190 from a mile away in half a second. Hesitate and you might shoot down a friendly P-51. Fire too late and you're dead. Then comes your introduction to the turret. The first time you see it, it looks absurdly small, like a hamster ball for humans, except the hamster has guns, and the ball is suspended beneath 30 tons of aircraft. Entry procedure? The turret rotates to guns down position. You crawl through the opening in the B-17's belly, lower yourself in, and fold your body into fetal position. The hatch closes above you with a metallic clunk that sounds exactly like a tomb ceiling. This is where you'll spend every mission. Some guys last 3 missions before requesting transfer to any other position. Some develop claustrophobia so severe they can't even look at the turret without hyperventilating. But you don't have a choice. You're short. You fit. Therefore, you fly. The B-17 taxis to the runway. You're not in the turret yet. That comes after takeoff. During takeoff and landing, the turret is stowed horizontal to prevent you from becoming a smear on the runway if the landing gear fails. You spend takeoff in the radio room, watching England drop away. Then comes the moment you've been dreading. Formation is assembling. Time to man your position. You notify the pilot, ball turret gunner entering position. You open the hatch in the belly. Below you, the turret hangs like a mechanical tumor. Wind screams past at 180 miles per hour. You lower yourself through, feet first, folding into the impossibly small space. Knees bent, feet on pedals, hands gripping control handles with firing triggers. The hatch closes above you, and suddenly, you're alone. Separated from the crew by aluminum and a rotating mechanical joint, you can't see anyone, can't touch anyone. The intercom is your only connection to humanity. You're in a 44-inch bubble, suspended beneath the aircraft, with nothing between you and the ground except 25,000 feet of empty air and thin plexiglass beneath your back. The view is simultaneously spectacular and horrifying. Rivers glint silver, cities cluster gray, fields pattern green and brown. Beautiful until you remember you're headed to bomb those cities and everyone down there with a gun is trying to kill you. Then the flak starts. From your position, you see it differently than the rest of the crew. You see flak bursts below, around, everywhere. Each explosion is a dark flower blooming, petals of shrapnel expanding outward. The plane shudders. Shrapnel pings off the fuselage above you. Some hits the turret with sounds like gravel on a tin roof. The plexiglass is tough, but it's not armor. A large piece could punch through and turn you into hamburger. You can't dodge. You can't hide. You can only sit there, curled in your glass ball, and watch death bloom all around you. And then the fighters arrive. Messerschmitt Bf-110s and Focke-Wulf 190s come screaming up from below, cannons blazing, aiming for the bomb bay. From your perspective, they're climbing directly towards you. You rotate the turret, track the fighter, lead the target, and squeeze the triggers. The twin .50 calibers roar. The recoil shakes the entire turret. Your tracers arc out, bright orange lines reaching for the enemy. Sometimes you hit. The fighter trails smoke, and you've just saved the aircraft. Sometimes you miss. The fighter's cannons flash. Rounds punch through the B-17's belly. The engagement lasts seconds, feels like hours. And then another fighter comes, and another. Waves of them. You rotate continuously, searching for threats, firing controlled bursts, trying not to waste ammunition. But here's what keeps you awake at night: the hydraulics. The ball turret rotates using hydraulic pressure. If those lines are damaged by flak or fighter fire, the turret loses power. It stops rotating. And here's the critical part. The turret can only be entered or exited when rotated to a specific position, guns pointing straight down, the hatch aligned with the fuselage opening. If the hydraulics fail while the turret is in any other position, you're stuck. The crew can try to hand crank the turret into position using manual override. It's slow, exhausting work, requiring 2 strong men cranking for 10 to 15 minutes. But if the bomber is damaged, losing altitude, on fire, or being abandoned, there isn't time. Ball turret gunner Alan Magee learned this the hard way over Saint-Nazaire, France, in January 1943. His B-17 was hit. The order came to bail out. The ball turret hydraulics were dead. The turret was stuck in the wrong position. The crew tried desperately to hand crank it. No time. The plane was breaking apart. They had to jump. They left him trapped inside. Magee rode the turret down as the B-17 disintegrated around him. The turret broke free. He fell 22,000 feet inside his glass coffin, still conscious, watching the ground rush up. The turret crashed through the glass roof of the Saint-Nazaire train station. Miraculously, impossibly, he survived. Shattered arm, smashed leg, internal injuries, but alive. One of the only people to fall 4 miles without a parachute and live. He's also the reason every ball turret gunner knows exactly what happens if you can't get out. Then there's the landing gear scenario. If the landing gear fails, the B-17 has to belly land, slide onto the runway on its fuselage. The ball turret hangs below the fuselage. If you're still inside when the plane belly lands, you're crushed between the runway and 20 tons of aircraft. Ground crews have had to hose ball turret positions off runways. So the protocol is simple. If landing gear fails, the ball turret gunner exits immediately. No exceptions, because the alternative is being smeared into the concrete at 100 miles per hour. Staff Sergeant John Quincy Adams flew 25 missions as a ball turret gunner with the 303rd Bomb Group. He described the position as like being inside a light bulb that everyone's shooting at. After the war, he said the worst part wasn't the combat, it was the isolation. You're part of a crew of 10 men, but you might as well be on a different planet. You can't see them, can't touch them. The intercom is your only connection to humanity. You're in a 44-inch bubble, suspended beneath the aircraft, with nothing between you and the ground except 25,000 feet of empty air and thin plexiglass beneath your back. The physical toll is brutal. After an 8-hour mission, ball turret gunners emerge barely able to walk, legs numb from being folded for hours, spine compressed from the cramped position, shoulders aching from gripping control handles. Frostbite is common despite the heated suit. Some gunners lost fingertips to frostbite clearing gun jams. Then there's the psychological impact, the isolation, the vulnerability, the knowledge that you're hanging in a glass ball beneath the aircraft with nowhere to go if things go wrong. 8 hours curled in a fetal position, alone, watching the earth and the sky and the fighters and the flak, knowing your survival depends entirely on mechanical systems that can fail. Statistically, ball turret gunners didn't have the highest casualty rate on the B-17. That was waist gunners. But they had the highest rate of psychological breakdowns. Something about the combination of isolation, claustrophobia, and vulnerability broke men faster than other positions. After the war, ball turret gunner Randall Jarrell wrote a poem. 5 lines, stark and brutal. From my mother's sleep I fell into the state, and I hunched in its belly till my wet fur froze. 6 miles from earth, loosed from its dream of life, I woke to black flak and the nightmare fighters. When I died, they washed me out of the turret with a hose. Literary critics debated the metaphor. Veterans didn't. They knew exactly what he meant. They'd seen it. Some had been seconds away from being it. The poem is 5 lines long because there's nothing else to say. You're born. The state takes you. You curl up in a glass ball. You fight. You die. They hose out the remains. Not every ball turret gunner died. Many survived their tours, came home, and never spoke about it. But they all carried the memory of that glass sphere, the isolation, the cold, the fighters climbing toward them, and the certain knowledge that if the hydraulics failed at the wrong moment, they weren't getting out. Check out our playlist on B-17 Flying Fortress, its missions, and many other stories.